We are off and running.
Yo.
Episode, I want to say 77. I think I might be right this time. I think I might be right.
All right, you might be right. I don't have it pulled up.
Oh, good Lord.
What was the last one?
It was before the Super Bowl, so...
We won.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
Yeah,
I wanted to say it was January sometime.
Wow.
I think.
In a minute.
Yeah, our typical month now instead of every week.
But, yeah, I feel like a lot's happened. I mean, I guess we could just kick it off with the Super Bowl. That was probably the last notable thing that happened, right?
What'd you think? Yeah. It was awesome.
That was pretty sick.
Absolutely awesome.
I think I said this when we were there because I came over to y'all's house to watch it, and I said I think that was the best football team I've ever seen play, ever. Straight up.
Yeah.
Or at least, well, I'm going to stay on that statement, but then also, I think it's also the most, well-rounded team ever. There was no gap in their play at all. We're talking about the Eagles versus Chiefs, but... Well,
it's so funny, because, ESPN does, the top, whatever, how many, 50, whatever it is, 57 Super Bowls, and they ranked them, right? And this one they ranked as, the 36th Super Bowl in the rankings, and I was like...
Yeah, that's so rigged.
I was like, what?
There's no
so
way.
I don't know what the criteria was, right? If it was by excitement, you could understand why it might be 36, because the game was over by halftime, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a stupid stat line, because it was the most viewed Super Bowl of all time, obviously.
Yeah, but
and it was
I don't know what the criteria was. I mean, if it was excitement, I get it. If it was by just, sheer dominance by a team, then I think they said the only other game was, I think San Francisco beat Denver 55-9 or something like that. That was the only other Super Bowl series blowout that it was pretty much over at some point.
Well, yeah,
so.
I mean, you got to take the final score with a grain of salt, because a lot of those points at the end were kind of
it was 40-6.
It was bull junk points.
It was basically 40-6 before they kind of just gave. At that
they
point,
had the second string in. I think they put Kenny Pickett. It's I never really seen that in a Super Bowl.
No, that's something you don't ever see where the backup quarterback comes in and stuff. But hey, it was awesome. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a couple weeks old now, but
that was awesome.
It's crazy how many people showed up for the freaking parade. I mean, I get it. I guess if you have young kids or something, or because I'm trying to remember if I ever went down. I went to the Flyers parade in the 70s with my. I vaguely remember because I was probably 8 years old or something like that, or 6 years. 74, so I would have been 8. I kind of vaguely remember that, and I don't think I might have gone to the 80 Phillies parade.
Oh, nice.
So I'm thinking that, because I was sitting there going, I'm like, it's cold. I'm like, you're going to see him drive by for 10 minutes. But I mean, kudos to the Eagles team, because they all jumped off the bus and actually walked almost the entire parade route, shaking everybody's hands and stuff like that, which was really cool, right? Because they could have just stayed on the buses, and they would blow by you, and literally you would spend 4 hours outside in the freezing cold to see them go by and wave for 10 seconds. But
I think the players all had a good grasp of how big the Super Bowl was. That's why I think you're saying they actually was more interactive than Kansas City. They've been here before a number of times. Yeah. It's just another I forget who it was. I think it was Peyton Manning had a joke. He was Pat Mahomes has his PO box at the Super Bowl or whatever the stadium the year before or something, because he's been there.
I'll tell you what, it was a bruising testament to his
legacy, right?
Legacy so far. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's got a ways to go and he's got lots of time to win some more, but I think they got some serious problems. I don't know if they're going to bounce back as quickly as people think they will, because I was reading their salary caps are already maxed out, and so they it's not like they can hire or get pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, and then a big contract in Travis Kelece.
They might cut him or do something, because they said if they get rid of him, it saves them $17 million in cap or some shit. So
yeah, I'm very curious to see how it all shakes out, because every year the cap does increase, and I know it just happened recently because they were talking about the Eagles players a couple of their guys kind of being on end of their contract. But we'll see. I mean, it'll be an interesting one. I feel good going into next season, but I mean, I feel like there's always that curse of like after the Super Bowl, like the team kind of like falls apart. At least for us, like when we went there, the last time and won was like 2017. We kind of went on that dry spell.
I don't know if they'll fall apart, but
no, I don't see that with this team. No, I don't.
They obviously will have the hardest schedule in theory, right? You never know how that's actually going to turn out, but in theory, they should have the hardest schedule. And you do have a lot of teams, and Washington's obviously a hell of a lot better than I think anybody ever possibly thought. And if they continue or they add a couple of additional pieces, they actually could be problematic.
You know that guy at Washington, Jaden Daniels? Yeah. He's only like 1 or 2 years younger than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts has been in the league for 5 years. That guy was a rookie this year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. Just crazy. I think this Super Bowl actually helped Jalen Hurts' legacy kind of solidify, because he was never really like in the conversation of like
great quarterbacks. It was always Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. We'll switch Lamar probably for he was second place or first place, but he was always kind of on the outer tiers of that. It'd be like some people would even be like Justin Herbert or whatever. But this one's like, man, the dude's a winner, bro. Like you put him in the playoffs, like dude just wins. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting to see too what happens with the offseason, because if Detroit makes a couple of moves on the defensive side, look out, right? Offensively, I think they still are stacked as long as what's-his-name doesn't have one bad game. But
that's been the storyline, I feel like, for the past, 2 or 3 years, though. It's like, as long as Detroit gets, a good this, and then it's like, in that next year, and then they're like, they're like 14-1 or, whatever it is, and then they just kind of fall apart or whatever. So.
Well, all I can say is if they get Myles Garrett, look out. That could be ugly. You could have him and Aiden Hutchinson, back to back. I'd be like,
I didn't even consider him going to Detroit. I thought it was either between the Eagles or the Commanders.
I could see him going to Detroit. I don't know. There's all kinds of shell games with that, but there's talk of that, and honestly, if that move ever happened,
and that was another thing, talking about defenses, but they didn't even blitz one time during the Super Bowl, which was crazy.
It seemed like they were blitzing all the time just because of all the penetration and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, they just blitzed again. And it's like, no, they haven't blitzed once. I'm like, what?
Their front four was just incredible.
Just seemed like
their front four was awesome. Yeah. And then when I walked out the room to go get a pizza or bring the food in, and I came in just as Zach Bond got that interception at it was
the 20-yard line,
whatever it was,
in the quarter.
And I was like, you were freaking out. I was like, it's this game's wrapped up.
He caught it. Oh my God. Yeah, that was awesome. It was awesome.
Talk about real quick, without what we know now, that first play to AJ Brown, we thought it was going to be a freaking flag central between the refs.
It calmed
at the
down.
Start. Yeah, really at the start, it was we and you kind of looked at each other. Everyone was Natalie Taylor was this is crazy.
It was almost like they threw that flag, and then I guess it was later
the Dallas Goedert
serious one. With Goddard, which wasn't a penalty either.
But they just bounced
that went the Eagles' way, and I'm like, it was a makeup call, and it was almost like the refs realized after that first, those two first penalties, they're like, holy shit, we gotta just shut this shit off and just not make any calls because we're already the story 30 seconds into this freaking game, right? It's almost like that's what happened because
it kind of seemed like it. After that, there was really no flags. The only flag I guess that was there was, I think there was a holding call against the Chiefs.
At the end of the day, I don't think the refs really got involved in it, which was good. Which was the way it should be, right? Obviously, the Chiefs fans are probably like, oh, they missed a bunch of calls. I get it, right? But generally speaking, it was nice that after those first two calls that went one each way, it kind of stopped normalized, at least as far as I can remember. But oh God, it was that first. You're like, oh, this is going to be a long goddamn day. Yeah, because that was such a cheap call.
I know, and AJ, I think he caught it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He caught it. It was, oh my God. And then that was also going into that game. Jalen Hurts, when he threw it to Smith in the end zone, that long ball, it was off the logo in the middle to the end zone. I think he did that. Well, one, it was the dagger to kind of just say this game's done. but also like, because if you remember when we played the Chiefs last time in the Super Bowl, he threw the ball and it kind of like there was like a Hail Mary attempt. It was 35, I think, to 38, and the ball kind of just came out short. I think Hurts threw that thing to like, yo, I got this long ball if we need a long ball, but I also got the short plays if we need the short plays. And man, that was just an incredible game.
There was some good coverage on that play too from the defensive side. I mean, it was actually a really good catch.
Oh my God, it was right in his bread.
Yeah, I think everybody was like, oh, he was wide open. He wasn't wide open.
No, that thing was in the breadbasket.
Yeah, that was it was a hell of a throw.
But I think also too, like going back to like more of like a psychological thing. Man, Saquon Barkley they really like. It felt like for those 2 weeks they were preparing, like only built schemes around the run.
Everybody was doing that.
Like they tried to just block the run, like not realizing like, yo, we got these killer guys on the outside that are just gonna get these points like back to back. And I think Ida was more so talking about like him breaking the record, which I think he did, but he didn't have like a. No, it wasn't like a star-studded game or anything like that.
He broke the record for the most yards in a season.
Yeah.
He beat Dickerson on that
because it was like he needed 30 or something like that.
It was like low, and he ended up with like 80 yards or 70 something.
Dude, even still, that's actually a lot. I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah.
Dude, like for him, like you're like, damn, that's like he didn't even have a big game. Like,
no,
you're used to him.
But you kind of knew that was going to happen. You knew. I mean, that was the talk all the way leading up to it. Was they were going to stack the line and force Hurts to win the game. And so what did he do? He won the game.
He's a winner, man. He's a winner, man. If I have a quarterback, I want Jalen Hurts in the postseason, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. That's who I want. That's who I want.
It's funny because it's one of those things where I was like hesitant to just shoot my mouth off, but I kept saying that this team could blow them out because Kansas City doesn't have that powerful offense.
But it's Kansas City at the end of the day.
I know.
No, that's what I'm saying to your defense. Like that's why I didn't want to like start saying, Kansas City.
But I mean, I remember even before the game, I'm like, this could be a blowout, man. I don't know what the problem is here, right? If the Eagles jump out, which they did, it's like they're gonna have a hard time catching up.
I want to remind you of something, just so you could rant for a second.
Go ahead. What am I going to rant about?
You ready?
Is it politics?
It's gonna fire you up. Philadelphia Pretzel Factory.
Oh, fuck. We just got the band hammer on the cursing. Oh yeah, yeah. Good job. Oh my fuck. Oh my God, that is not how you run a business. Just not how you run a business.
Well, we got to Joe's to the Babiak residence right before it came.
Obviously
and Joe's not there.
We're having all of you over, right?
Yep.
So the plan was we were getting a wings tray from Giant. And for anybody who's not local to Philly, right? Giant is a food mart, or like an Acme or Myers, or I'm trying to think of all the ones that aren't around here, right? Wegmans, right? It's a food store, right? So we go in there and we get a tray that had been pre-ordered, right? And so it's Noah and I. We walk in, go up to the guy who's standing there and handling the orders and say, order for Ida, right? Or Ida. And boom. 30 seconds out the door, right? The way it's supposed to be, right? You pre-order, it is waiting for you to just come and pick it up and pay for it, right? Literally, there were 2 or 3 people ahead of us. It took us maybe 5 minutes to get in and out, right? Way it should be. So our next stop is we had a pretzel tray, which for those, again, who are not from Philadelphia, right? Philly's famous for these little soft pretzels, and Philly Pretzel Factory is kind of the de facto chain of places where you can go and just buy pretzels or pretzel trays. So again, we had pre-ordered a pretzel tray, and it's going to be a popular thing, but we pre-ordered it literally she ordered it I don't know, almost 2 weeks before the Super Bowl.
Damn, that's really like planning it out. I wouldn't even have thought to do something.
We're talking about Ida, right? So she plans out the wazoo, right? But we get there, right? The pickup. So they ask you, what time do you want to come and pick it up? 4:00. Okay. We get there right at 4:00, and there is a line out the door. No lie, 50 people. And
it was a long line, 50 people.
So originally I'm thinking, okay, these people didn't pre-order and they're waiting, right? And sure enough, everybody in the line is pre-ordered. And so It took an hour to get into the store to pick up the tray. Now get this, right? They had no trays pre-made. None of them were ready. There was like if you pre-ordered, they were making them when you showed up. So they just kept taking orders all day long with no understanding of.
It was like if you drop clothes, it's like essentially if you were to just have like a back order and you just and then like the day of you're like screen printing the shirts as they come out.
But I was like, what the hell was the point of taking pre-orders? I mean, there was absolutely no reason to take pre-orders because everybody there, you basically walked in and said, what's whose it is. They look it up and then they go and they make it, right? None of the orders were pre-made. None of them are ready to be picked up. I'm like, this makes absolutely
was it like a
no
full
sense.
House of staff?
It was packed.
Staff wise?
Yeah, they probably had about. I mean, I don't know. They had 10 people in there. I mean, it's not a big store, right? As you know. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot more people than there normally would be on a regular weekend. But everybody was freaking pissed outside, right?
Oh, really?
And then on top of that, there's no nobody from the store is like coming out and just keeping everybody abreast of what's going on. So it's a line. And then as people are leaving, others are going in. Once you get into the store, it was mad chaos. It's not a big area, but there was no like semblance of order in there. So I got inside about, I don't know, maybe there was a guy and his girlfriend in front of us. And for whatever reason, I just kind of recognized him. And I walked in and I said, well, what the hell's going on here? He goes, the line kind of wraps around. Sure enough, I actually got help before he did. And he was in there. He was 6 ahead of me in the outside line.
Oh, my God.
Because there was no order. It was just who kind of worked their way to the front once you got in there.
My God.
So I was like, oh, my God. And I felt bad because I was like, this guy's been here. And I'm like, what? Screw this. I want to get out. Because it literally took over an hour to go from the line inside to pick up, to pay, and get the hell out. An hour for something that had been pre-ordered, right? It was excruciatingly painful. It was cold. People were canceling left and right. So that was the other problem, right? So you have all these people waiting to get their orders. Then all of a sudden you have dozens of people that are getting inside going, I just want to cancel my goddamn order and get a refund because they had prepaid online. It was a fucking shit show.
Well, so I have to ask you the question then. Would you rather them give you like a cold tray that you would have to heat up at the house, or would you rather have them make it fresh? You know what I mean?
I hear you on that, but the question is then why are they giving you a time when you're to show up, right?
Yeah.
If I say I'm going to show up at 4,
like there should be like an allocated
they should have a team making that tray at 3:30 or 3:45, and however many are scheduled to come in at 4.
Queue,
That way, at the very least, I'm getting a warm tray. And if I show up an hour late, that's on me, right? It's not on them. Like they had the tray warm and ready at 4 o'clock. So I understand that, right? It is a warm product that you do want, I guess fresh, and you don't want it made the night before. So it's a challenge, but you got to think about these things, right?
No, I was just cracking up because
and that was my whole point. It's like, okay, I ordered a tray, I get it, but why did you're asking for when are you going to pick it up? What time? We're giving you a designated window to come in and pick it up. It should be ready, right?
So I don't mean to laugh, but I just remember how pissed
I was fucking lit, man. I walked into the house and I'm like, that's like 90 minutes of my time I will never get back.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
I was pissed.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were people that showed up. I'm sure they probably said, oh, the Super Bowl starts at 6, whatever. I'll come in at 5 and get my tray and rush home. And they were probably effed. I mean, literally, if they stayed, they weren't going to make it back in time for the game. It was ridiculous.
That was crazy.
So
I just remember, I remember it was like, that was like the kickoff to like the Super Bowl. Joe came in, he was fucking hot.
And it's funny. I mean, people have memories. And like, so I'm like, I was hearing the line going, oh, it was like this way in 2018 Super Bowl. And I'm like, so lesson learned. Do not buy Philly pretzels for the Super Bowl.
What if you buy the day before?
I guess you could, then you'd have to reheat them yourself.
Why not?
Which is fine. I mean, it's just, I was livid because I was like, this isn't the way to run a business.
That's so funny, man. I just was cracking.
I mean, and they ended up.
I had to bring it up because I remember you were so pissed. It took you a second to calm down.
I said I will never, I'm sure we'll go back and buy pretzels again during a normal thing, but you can bet your ass
not
that
during the Super Bowl.
For special events, forget it. It's I would never do it again. I was just like, it was such an awful experience.
Yeah. But that was the Super Bowl.
That's, and this is a lesson for businesses, right? You
gotta figure out.
It doesn't take much to just alienate people and have them get on a podcast that in our case it's not being listened to by a bunch of people, but generally you could piss off the wrong guy, right? Dave Portnoy was in line, right? And he's like, F these people, and then you're done, right? You're toast.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I don't know. I'm like trying to, as you were explaining the story, I'm trying to sit here and think to myself, like, how could they fix that problem? And like what, I guess like you said, if they stop taking pre-orders that day, so let's say the Super Bowl's on a Sunday, obviously, Saturday, stop the pre-orders, and then everything from that point on is just kind of, all right, we know like at the 4 o'clock window, 15 people, at the 4:30 window, we have 20, and it just kind of, and it goes like that. But
you should know how many trays you can make a minute, or every 10 minutes I can make 4 trays. Okay, well, you have a 4 o'clock group that picks up 4 trays. You have a 4:15 group that picks up 4 trays. You have a 4:30 group that picks up 4 trays. And then maybe you have a separate line for people that are coming in day of. Yeah. And if they have to wait, they have to wait because they didn't plan. Hey, I get it, right? Yeah. If I didn't plan, I would say, I understand why I'm standing in a long-ass line on Super Bowl. But when you're prepaying online and you are being scheduled, like when I get there, and since you prepaid, and like I said, this is what I'm just saying. It's like, make the damn tray. It's paid for. If they don't show up, or they show up late, it's on them, right?
Yeah. Keep the tray? Still keep the tray for them, or hold it for them, or just after 30 minutes
the tray is, there's a stack of trays. Like if you go, this is the weird thing. Like I've gone there and ordered trays for like a birthday party or something like that. You go in and they have a rack right next to the cashier thing with the trays already made. Yeah. And you walk in, you say, Joe, boom, off the thing, and you're out the door. And I'm like, that just totally broke down. Yeah. And I don't know if it was just greed, or I don't know what.
They probably made bank that day, though.
Oh, I have no doubt. They probably made more money than they make in probably 6 months in one day. I mean, no lie, right? Because it was the line was stacked, and when I walked out, the line was still.
And that's
stacked.
Just for the 4 o'clock window. Imagine all day long. It
was probably crazy. Like that all day long. Yeah. So I look, I
just wanted to bring it up.
I just wish it's like there was no communication either, which is the other thing that really frosted me. It was just like,
you wanted it to be like an Apple event where they like come out and they're like, hey guys,
right. So why didn't someone have like a tray of the damn things, walk in the line saying, hey, sorry you're waiting, here's a free pretzel, right? Or here's a gift certificate for like 10% off your next order, right? There could have been something, and there was nothing, and it was fucking cold, and people were pissed.
They probably look at it like, hey, we have 10 people working. If we send that 10th guy, we only got 9 guys working. Now we're kind of shooting
then
ourselves.
It just got so
it's like a catch-22.
There was literally like, I don't know, 6 to 8 people that just then wanted to get inside just to cancel their order.
Refund. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're just effing that whole thing up. I was just so annoying, man. Right. This little shit that just drives me crazy. But yes,
there you go.
Thank you. You got the rant trigger on that one.
I got it. Yep, that's +1 there for the podcast.
I was so pissed.
+1 for the podcast.
Fucking pissed. Oh my God. Yeah, I was hot under the collar. I have no patience for that. I just don't.
Let's go. I wanted to. I wrote some stuff down. I wanted to kind of go over some of it. Switching gears to technology, Microsoft over the past couple days released something about a quantum computing break. Have you heard about this at all? The quantum, like this chip, this like small computer microchip or something like that. It's like happened yesterday, I think it was.
No.
Microsoft. So I'll just kind of read this description.
Quantum computing, Rich, not AI.
No, this is quantum computing. Microsoft has announced the development of the, I don't know how to really pronounce this, Marijuana 1, Majorana 1 chip, a quantum processing unit powered by a topological core architecture. This chip aims to address the long-standing challenges of quantum computing, particularly in the instability and error rates of traditional qubits. By utilizing there's so many words in here that I just topological qubits, which store information in the system's topological priorities rather than the individual particles. The marijuana chip promises to enhance the stability and the scalability. This advancement could accelerate the practical application of quantum computing, potentially solving complex problems across various industries and efficiency. However, some physicists urge caution, noting that while the findings are promising, further validation is necessary to confirm the existence of the elusive marijuana particles that underpin this technology. Meaning, like, they don't really necessarily they don't have any backings to it. They just kind of announced this microchip that's like literally like this big, but someone like zoomed all the way in and you could like kind of see all the stuff in there. I saw it come out, and a bunch of like physicists and people are like, how the hell did they just announce this? That kind of just went under their radar. We've been studying this stuff for like 20 years. Like, what the F? And they don't have any like public sightings or anyone that should peer review the papers and stuff like that. So,
it sounds like Microsoft's trying to slow roll the AI, maybe. Because that's what DeepSeek did, right? I mean, DeepSeek tanked Nvidia stock, and is it slowly turning out it was a crock of shit, right? So
DeepSeek.
Yeah,
I didn't follow. I haven't really followed up on it just because it came up. It tanked the stock market that Monday or whatever it was,
and then bounced back.
And then and typically the way to really identify if something's like legit is like it'll be a constant threat to that stock. I feel like, and that one just kind of rebounded. It rebounded fairly well, which. Good for us, because I think I own a little bit of Nvidia, so I think you do too.
Yeah.
So I was like looking at it, but I saw it and I was very interested. I mean, this is what the chip looks like on the right there.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard, it's really, really weird stuff. I just saw it and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
It's like a GPU layered on top of a GPU layered on top of a GPU to give you 4 dimensions, and you get. I don't know. I mean, that's so beyond me. I mean, I've actually had. I have one customer who has a quantum computer, and
really? Do they have it like in like a barn or something like that?
No, they actually have it in a it's Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland hospital, research hospital, and they did it with IBM, and they had pictures of it. I've never actually seen it in person, but apparently it's in the lower level of one of their buildings in Cleveland, and I don't know if you can go see it or not, but the pictures of it are like. It's cool as shit. It looks like it's something right out of Mission Impossible.
Really?
I don't know how to describe it, but if you go at Cleveland Clinic Quantum Computer, you'll see pictures of it. And it.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah. I wish.
Oh wait, hold on. It's just me and you in this.
Sorry, we don't. Yeah, we don't have Joe Rogan's budget. Yeah, but I mean, that's the only one I know of. I mean, it just hasn't, being close to that industry, it's all AI right now. It's all high performance compute, and AI or quantum gets talked about, but it's.
I feel like it's been really like popularized recently. Like especially like this is gonna sound stupid for someone who's like super intelligent, whatever. But like even in like some of the Marvel Avengers thing, they talk about like quantum stuff going on. It's like becoming like more popular like type of thing, but like there's not been anything going on with it, I feel like, or like we haven't really kind of crossed that threshold yet. So another thing that came up in the news was the Polish president's meeting with President Trump. Is there any significance there?
Polish president?
Polish President Andrzej Duda is scheduled to meet with the United States President Trump in Washington.
Oh, so I'm assuming. So I mean, I guess what's really kind of going on there right now is obviously all Ukraine related. So
so what's going on with that that side of things?
So I mean, Trump's basically probably going and having conversations with all of the major EU countries to get them to pay the bill for future protection and just defense, right? So, I mean, they're just trying to make them pay the bill.
It says like military aid and economic negotiations. The U.S. and Ukraine are nearing an agreement that would grant the U.S. access to Ukraine's valuable mineral resources, including titanium, lithium, and rare earth elements.
Well, that's Ukraine, right? So, I mean, the U.S. is basically like, you owe us. You owe us.
Yeah, and there was even talks about threatening to pull out some of the Starlink technology if they don't come to an agreement. I think.
Who knows? I mean,
but yeah, I don't know. I would think that. Do you think there's a finish line in sight for this whole Russian Ukraine thing, or sooner than later, or do you think it's still like a year out? Plus?
No, I think it's probably sooner rather than later. I mean, basically what's going to happen is the contested areas, Russia's going to keep a lot of it, and then Ukraine. The bottom line is Russia's going to reclaim some Ukrainian territories, land, is my guess, and then Ukraine's going to sign bilateral agreements and contracts with the United States for precious metals and stuff like that, and that's the payback, and that's also the hook for us to continue to support and protect Ukraine.
Okay, and now
so it's
Ukraine
kind of all intermingled and stuff like that. Now Zelensky's a fucking idiot.
Why is that?
Because he's publicly bad-mouthing Trump.
Oh, really?
Which is just not a good idea, right? You know that dude's got an ego, right? So he's like, if this guy's going to bad-mouth me, that's not going to go over well. And so who knows? I mean, it's like, is this guy trying to self-sabotage all this shit? What's he doing? So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I saw it. I just was curious just because they've been talking about it, and I know when during the political campaign, his big focus was kind of wrapping up the Ukraine and Russian back and forth. But I don't
even get it, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously, I don't follow it really closely, but I'm like, it just seems like they're indiscriminately killing each other with no like.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is from my point of view, and strictly from my point of view. Again, someone who's way deeper in the field of knowing exactly what's going on, or someone like yourself who's more in tune with political stuff. To me, it just sounds like the original thing was there was a treaty between America and Russia to like kind of like NATO, or Ukraine couldn't join NATO, right? So basically Ukraine surrendered their missiles over, and in turn Russia and America kind of came to agreement, we're going to protect Ukraine. And then fast forward, Russia kind of started to invade Ukraine to get the land or whatever you were talking about. And then from that point, this is an extremely dumbed down version, so I'm sorry for kind of going
entirely wrong so far.
Okay, so then from that point, Russia kind of is facing a little bit of resistance because Ukraine's fighting back. And like, I think that they thought it, I think, might have been more so a cakewalk than what it actually is. And I'm sorry to even say a cakewalk because of talking about war and people's lives, but I think Russia thought they were going to go in, take their land, and Ukraine was not going to be no more. It was going to be a part of Russia.
Yep.
Now there comes into a conflict where if Russia pulls out, they look like cowards because they're getting beat by a country that's like a fraction of their size. And then at the same note, Ukraine's looking to America to be like, hey, like, where's the backup and all that. But we're also talking about two countries that were also extremely corrupt. Like, people often look at like Ukraine and be like, oh, like Ukraine's this, but there was also like I feel like a lot of corruption in the country of Ukraine.
Yeah, that's one of the big sticking points too. It's so messed up. Is
that fair to? Is that like that analogy? The whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. I mean, you could get into the tactical stuff, like the area that I guess it was Crimea that Russia annexed, like back in the Obama days. Like that area, it was heavily Russian, like Russian peoples, whatever descent. It's fucked up. I mean, I don't know why it's
like, why is it still going on? But I think it's crazy. Like a clash of the egos because now you have Putin.
Seriously, I mean, Russia in theory, right, should have just steamrolled it. I don't know. I don't know whether it's they held back because they know if they went in full force, then the Americans would have to do something, or the EU would have to do something, right? And that would have triggered World War III. So they kind of went at it half-assed, thinking that their superiority from equipment would just, number of people would take over. And then it got normalized because technology has obviously changed since I think the last time Russia tried to invade anybody. And so now you got these freaking freaking drones that are just absolutely decimating.
You see the footage online too.
Right, you see it all the time, and it's like, holy shit. Yeah. I mean, like, I can't even imagine modern warfare. Right, you're a freaking human,
and then you just hear like, zzz,
and you're like gone. I mean, because some freaking like some DJI robot just flies down and blows up. Right, I mean, like, crazy. It's sick. I mean, I'm like, so I have a feeling that was part of it, that like Russia just wasn't prepared for that part of the equation, and so it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I hope that they could kind of
like, I don't even know what the end. I mean, obviously, I kind of followed a little bit, and I'm like, what is the end game here? Like, if Russia just wants to annex some land, fucking give it to them, and let's just end this. And really? I think that's what's going to end up happening, because at the end of the day, right, the issue has been with Biden is Biden kept pumping money into Russia or into Ukraine. Obviously, it was supposed to be going towards ammunition and drones and all this other technology, but they never got any receipts for any of it, so no one knows where the hell it went, right? Which is part of that,
DOGE
problem, right?
Oh, well, all right. I thought you were going to talk about the DOGE stuff, like talking about the cutback on the government. I was going to ask what you thought about.
That extends back here, but I mean, you talk about corruption, right? They're like, well, where's all this money going, right? And I mean, and the other thing is, like, so Zelensky's like hardlining, saying it's all or nothing, and Russia's like, well, it's all or nothing, and it's like, dude, you got to give each side some way to get out, right, without losing face. Otherwise, it's never going to end, and that's where Trump's kind of jumping in, and he's like, okay, Russia, what the fuck do you want? And let's draw some lines in the sand and just cut this whole shit loose and move on, right? So. Who knows? I don't know. It's
kind of crazy that it's still going on, but like, hopefully that they don't, like, I mean, it sounds like Russia does want land. It's just a matter of how much land that they want for some reason. Like, what do they want from the land specifically?
Well, so Russia the materials really wants. I think there's a couple things. One is they don't want Ukraine in NATO, because then you'd have a NATO country right next to Russia. There's no buffer, right? Which was always the thing. And then obviously you get into the geopolitical stuff with the pipelines, right? Because all of Russian natural gas and oil flows through Ukraine. Until that pipeline that was going into Germany, and then that got sabotaged.
What do you think happened?
I'm assuming that either Ukraine or the United States did it. I think they say Ukraine did it, right? Because that would bypass them completely. Oh. And they were like a tolling mechanism, right? The pipelines ran through there, and they got paid on whatever, a percent, whatever it is, right? They got paid for allowing that to flow through, which is also part of the reason why I think Russia went after Crimea, because Crimea was port cities. It's not simple, is the bottom line, right? We all read the news, right? And it's like, oh, Russia bad, Ukraine good. And it's not how the world works.
Not as easy as it says, unfortunately.
Right? I mean, it's just not how it works.
I figured that it's a lot more like multi-layered than just like
it is.
Just like, oh, well, why is Russia doing this thing? So I don't know.
I mean, the good thing about Trump though is he's like, okay, this is fucking stupid. Let's stop it. Okay, we're not going to keep giving you hundreds of billions of dollars for, like, what are we getting in return? So that's where, the press kind of blows it up, and they're like, oh, Trump demanded that Russia or Ukraine just give up all of their precious metals, right? And he's like, no, that's not what they said. They said, let's go into business together, mining and getting all these, and basically give us first rights to a lot of this shit to buy it, right? We're not telling you, but we gave you $250 billion. We want it back, which is like, okay.
Is that really the end total was $250 billion?
The number's anywhere from like $200 to $350 billion is what we've given them. And
there was always that infamous like $6 billion that kind of was like accidentally like unaccounted for or something like that.
There's all kinds of, there's a lot of it's obviously going in the pockets and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. So now I want to ask your opinion, I guess, on the whole Elon Musk thing.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I have never... fucking social media is just the root of all evil, and this world is so fucked up and divided. So, I mean, look, obviously I'm a car guy, right? And I own a Tesla, so I'm on all the Tesla forums. I can't tell you, like, just because he's obviously now teamed with Trump the vitriol that spills out of people is fucking insane.
Well, like, are they like saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna sell my car"?
You cannot even comprehend how fucking lunatic people are. I mean, obviously, you hear a little bit of it, you see a little bit of it, but I am talking about people that a year ago where Elon is God, right? Elon is the greatest thing. I love Tesla. Tesla's great. Yep. Electric cars are great.
This is the future.
And yeah, and then he teams up with Trump, and these people online are 180 fucking, he's evil. He's a Nazi.
Oh my
he
God.
sucks. I'm selling my car. I will never buy. I want to burn down Tesla stores. It's unbelievable.
You probably get to see a lot more than I do, and I obviously see a lot of that just because, like, obviously, just being on Twitter, which is coincidentally owned by him, but it's freedom of speech. People can say anything. It's
just awful.
I think what they're doing with the Doge stuff is a good thing.
Yes.
I think that he has a great point in what he said when someone kind of like challenged him. They're like, well,
maybe you can tell me what is the argument on the left for Doge? What's the argument?
So here's the argument on the left, and this is not even me saying it, but from what I'm gathering from other people, is this is not even a left argument. It's more a moderate argument that's being presented. The middle argument is a lot of that money, while it is said to be dumb things like $3 million to like a gas station that never had a sale, a lot of that is just money to use as leveraging chips to pull out. So like if, for example, there was something that went awry in that country, we could say, oh, we're no longer going to fund this gas station. That's, you know what I mean? To be like, kind of like, we know we're getting burned on this shit, but people love money. So the second you start to pull back a little bit of that, then it's like all of your chips. So if we're pulling back all of our chips, we don't have nothing to bargain with besides like, hey, do you want to do this for $3? Like, it's already in place to where if something were to go bad, you could say we're restricting something versus trying to figure out the problem at a front face, if that makes any sense.
It does for relationships with overseas, like little African fucking countries that
backdoor a lot of their things.
Well, but years ago that mattered. Now it doesn't. It doesn't matter anymore. I mean, the world's changed again because of communication and the internet and all this other stuff. I mean, so the geopolitics that was all architected on back in the 70s and the 80s made sense. But I don't know if it makes sense anymore. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Again, I'm not someone that's like a political figure to even say like, does it make sense now? Does it not make sense?
So I know the other thing is like, okay, they're going to go in and they're basically just turning off the spigot and they're firing all these people, and of course they'll fire like 3,000 people and maybe 30 of them are actually good people or the programs. So it's all you hear is like screaming about all the airplane crashes are now because they fired 300 people from the FAA, right? Yep. Which is total horseshit, but that's the liberal logic. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people, right? And regardless, right, it's gotten to the point where it's so bad they've obviously proven that there's no accountability for where half this money's going. I shouldn't even say half, probably all of it, right? So at some point, you have to turn the spigot off. You're going to basically just reset the playing field, and then you're going to restore the good shit that you may have cut off. It's just a temporary thing while they figure out and say, let's prove or let's vet that this shit's being used for the right purposes. So everybody's freaking out that like, oh God, some good project. The latest thing again I just saw was that the GSA is cutting off all of the electric charging stations at any federal facility, and I'm like, okay, there's a couple things going on here, right? That money is like they say there's like 8,000 charging stations that cost like $800 billion to build, right? So no one looks at the logic there that, okay, we're turning off these 8,000 stations because they're costing like way more than they should, right? So let's shut it off. figure out what's going on, and then I'm sure almost, if there are federal buildings that they're going to keep, they'll turn it back on. It's like they're freaking out. And I mean, the vitriol online is insane.
But then you have like the flip side. Like I saw one that was like pronoun like courses or something in like the countries like Africa or something where it's like those guys don't, I don't know how to say it in another way. It's like they don't care. Like what? Like I don't necessarily know. Like I don't know what mind game is there. But to answer it all back,
there's no doubt that a lot of those programs were probably
bargaining chips. Is what it was.
Either that, or it was like that's what it is on the books, right? Yeah. It was some sort of CIA payoff to. Yeah, like right. I get it, but at some point, like it's gotten so out of control that you and I are paying 40% of our freaking paycheck in taxes
to do something that we might not even need to cash in.
And it's like, okay, let's just draw a line in the sand, shut everything off, and let's reevaluate what the fuck we're doing instead of just pissing all this money away. And that's why I don't get it. It's like, okay, I don't get it. That's just like, what's the argument?
I mean, I think it's like if we draw everything back, it's like, how are we going to justify it in the future going back to, let's say, like, I don't know.
So the thing that everybody thinks is we shut off all these programs, like Russia's going to take over the world, China's going to take over the world. And then you start to put it in perspective. Is like the only thing that really matters in this world anymore is trade, is manufacturing and consumption, right? Yeah. The world has changed into a consumption model, and that's obviously validated by this whole communication flow and all this other stuff. And so it doesn't really matter as much anymore about military bases, and I mean it could, but I mean it's gotten.
It's not like traditional like war where it's like, I mean everyone kind of already is on the same page. If we were to go to another war, it's going to be a nuclear war. It's not going to be a D-Day situation where you're sending guys to the front line and doing all that. Or
it's going to be totally automated. It's going to be a fucking drone war.
Drone war, yeah.
It's like droning into civilian populations. It's like we're seeing it in Ukraine, which is just fucking crazy. Some of the shit that you see on those videos. Like, is this real? And I'm like, it looks real, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's always hard to tell. I remember there was like when this whole the Ukraine war was starting was that one guy in a fighter jet, like apparently like he like stole a fighter jet, and then he was like the guy that was like kind of like going around and like taking things out. And I was like, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but like this was earlier on, was like you were getting just like stories or propaganda about it.
I mean, you see the videos of a drone that probably costs. I mean, even if it's a high end
spec'd out drone,
what's it cost? $10,000, and it goes and it blows up some armored tank that costs $20 million to build. Yeah. You can't build too many $20 million tanks if they're going to get blown up by $10,000 drones, right? So the whole landscape of warfare, like you said, has completely changed, right? It's going to be kind of little tactical skirmishes that are going to be fought by special forces teams, or it's going to be a fucking nuclear war, or it's going to be just drones and
it's kind of it's crazy. It's weird, it's a crazy scope of things, but overall, I think the government spending cutback is overall a good thing. I mean, they were even talking about refunding some of the money, which I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, which I don't expect it to happen, to be quite honest with you, but it's good that we're at least maybe trying to
that's the carrot that I saw. I mean, obviously, it's politics still, right? So that's the carrot to kind of
keep the pig going, like on
that's
the, what I'm saying?
That's to win, to win support and win votes and all that other stuff is to dangle that carrot that will kick back some of the money to you, which is not bad. I mean, the reality is that all of it should go to reduce the debt, because I mean, the debt is just like in just this like thing, right? That's
like what, $30-something trillion,
$36 trillion, and I mean, when they were interviewing Musk the other day, he's like, we're going to go bankrupt, right? It's going to happen if it continues at this rate. And people don't seem to grasp the concept that all of this shit's just going to implode at some point because you just can't keep doing this. Look at Venezuela. Look at all these countries where this has happened, right? And just because it's America doesn't mean it's not possible, right? And So yeah, I mean, it's this world's.
I'm curious to see how much they end up saving. Like, I feel like they have like a counter, but he's like trying to make like a live counter on like the DOGE.gov or something like that. But it's
so there. I mean, obviously, it's only been 3 weeks, or it's been a month since he's been in office, right? Yeah. So, what the hell can you do in a month? So,
but I mean,
absolutely, the numbers right now are
in the billions, or
it's not even necessarily savings in the sense, because really all they've done is just stopped the payments going out, right? Yeah. So
yeah, some people would look at savings as like, we're not spending, so it's like
it'll be interesting to see how they really start to put the numbers to it. And like the thing with the Social Security, where you have people that are like, they have like 6 million people that are 150 years old.
Yeah,
they're like, well, the reality is that a lot of those people aren't actually getting checks.
Did you actually see how they do the Social Security? It's like a train car. Elon was explaining it's like a train car that goes into like this mine in Pennsylvania.
That's for retirement.
If
you're
crazy.
A government employee and you want to retire,
you have to have this like train car that goes.
It's a manual process, and it goes into the Iron Mountain facility out in Pittsburgh.
That's crazy.
It's all by hand.
Wow.
So they're firing all these people, or they're offering these optional retirement, like you can quit early and we'll give you 2 years of pay and stuff like that. And they can only process 10,000 of them a month or something like that, because it's manual. So even though they're trying to let go hundreds of thousands of federal employees, they can't actually offboard them fast enough. That's some crazy shit.
That is crazy.
Like in this day and age, and that's the other thing. Like Musk's like, the technology systems in the government are so fucking antiquated. It's not even funny.
Yeah. And I think the people that are worried about it shouldn't be. Again.
They have something to hide.
Not trying
or
to
something to lose.
Well, not trying to even be that guy, but just the regular common folk of like, oh, this billionaire is going to be in charge of my Social Security. It's like would you rather him, a public figure that you could track down, have control of it, or some random unknown entity control it? Part two to that is it was the people's vote. Like when when Trump was running, you obviously knew Elon was
doing everything he said he would do.
He was a part of the campaign, so it's like they got the what is that? Not the electoral votes, but the people's vote.
They got the popular and the electoral.
That's what I'm saying. But I was more so looking for the popular. It's like people voted for this to come in, so it's like you can't say we didn't vote for that, because that's what.
Well, that's the whole point.
That's what won essentially was this whole campaign. But anyway,
and he's done everything. He's literally done everything he said he was going to do. I mean, to the point I'm like, wow.
But you can't really say that in today's day and age without people saying you're just an Elon D rider.
God.
It's
dude, the flip of the switch on Elon is insane. I mean, it's just like Trump. I get he's always been a polarizing guy, even back into the 90s, right, when he was in New York. So I get it. Like, he's a polarizing guy. Right?
Yeah, I know.
Elon hasn't changed. Like, he's not a guy who is, caught on film talking about, banging girls here, whatever Trump's been, been done. But just the change, the 180, just because
he's associated
with Trump is insane, man. It's insane.
I don't get it.
I'm going to sell my Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla sucks. Tesla's horrible. Musk is a Nazi. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
People will find any reason. I mean, there's people that I even hear talk about how he stole companies from them or something like that. Like, there's always going to be something that comes out. Like, he's not actually the smart guy. He had a smart guys work around him.
Sure, he's not the smart guy, right?
That's the whole argument. So I mean,
that's the way the world has always been.
Damned if you do, and damned if you don't. But I think overall, it should be a good thing. We'll see what happens. But yeah. How's your matcha, by the way?
It's good. Awesome. Yeah.
I made Joe matcha this morning, so we'll see, or this afternoon. We got him on the matcha kick. And,
matcha.
Yeah, man.
It's better than, it's different than coffee.
A lot different than coffee, which is good. I mean, I wanted a little bit of a change, but you could actually do so much with this.
Can you mix matcha and coffee?
You can mix matcha with espresso. You can mix matcha with strawberries, blue. I was telling you, a bunch of stuff. We did just some ceremonial with almond milk and a little bit of honey that Joe grows.
Seriously, what explain this ceremonial and food grade?
Yeah,
and
so I mean, ceremonial is
what a transition. We're going from
it's
talking about politics to matcha and food grades.
So basically, what matcha is there's just different versions or different tiers. Think of it like a steak. Like you can get a steak from Walmart or Giant. That's your filet or whatever it is,
USDA,
and you got it. And then you could go to your butcher and buy like a Wagyu steak, and it's like the top of the line. That's the same thing for ceremonial. So there's like, obviously this is probably middle of the road ceremonial, but there's like ones that go for like, let's say like $100 a canister, like that. So it's like you could get like really higher tiers. This one's just kind of your run of the mill.
So what is the difference?
So culinary is more for cooking. So if you're using culinary grade matcha, you're using that for cookies, you're using it for brownies, you're using that for oatmeal or whatever people cook with it. Culinary, so 2 and 2 together. This one is specifically for drinking. Like this is like people that are dialed into like, I'm gonna put this in a glass and drink it just how it is. And so you were talking about drinking it hot. Like people often do that. I don't prefer it hot just because like to get a good hot matcha, you also need like the wand that comes off of like an espresso. I think you actually might have one.
I do. Yeah.
You do.
Well,
and you could like
like jet spray.
Yeah, you got it with the water and kind of make the milk like more of a better consistency. So that's the difference in matcha. But like to get really good like authentic matcha, you have to go on like these like www.entername.jp websites that are like Japanese, like you have to really kind of go into it. But it's great. And it's a good substitute for coffee. It still has caffeine in it, but I just find myself enjoying the taste of it, and like I could have like 2 of these things a day, like 2, 3, like in the sitting, just bang, bang. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or not, but I was like, let me bring some over to the crib here so you can try it out, see what the hype's
awesome.
about.
So I've had it before. I mean, they
have it at coffee spots.
They have it at Starbucks and stuff like that, but I mean, I'm sure that's shit.
Yeah, I don't have to look into that. You can tell by the color. Like this one right now, it doesn't look so good because we had it watered out.
Yeah.
But when you first get it, it's pretty dark. That's like your first indication. Like when we first put it in the thing, it's dark matcha, which is kind of your first indication. Culinary is a little bit more grayish, if you want to call it.
But this is why I was kind of curious, because you were hell-bent about putting almond milk in it, and I'm like, to me, it just seems like if you're getting a ceremonial grade
drink
matcha, you want pure, you want to experience it pure, right?
Yeah.
But if that's not,
No, so for the people that are into it, you're supposed to use oat milk is what you're actually supposed to use. Oat milk, whole milk is like the thing that...
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I just know that for me, I might be a little bit lactose intolerant, so I try not to drink regular milk anyway. So you had almond, which is great, but whole milk or oat milk, there might be a little bit of method to the madness, but I don't know. It's just something that I got into. Like I seen a bunch of people making it, and I was like, let me try it out, because I have the Nespresso, but like the freaking capsules are so damn expensive that
they have matcha.
No. I'm saying
I was like, whoa, that's
just a regular coffee. Like when I was drinking the coffee, it was just an espresso. Like it's just so quick. But the freaking capsules were like $1 thing. This one's a little bit more than that, but it's like you can get like, I feel like if you're drinking on a daily basis, like this could probably, that tin could last me like a month. You're still spending like $1 and some shit. I mean, it's kind of the same. It's just a little bit different. So whatever. But
it's a little more work though.
It's cool. I like it.
Like
it's
the whole whisking,
it's
and
cool,
I was like, we need a ceremony for the ceremonial tea. It was like the whisking thing is kind of cool, but it's a little bit of a process. Like you got to. That's a commitment.
Which is actually perfect for you guys, because you guys have you guys do your own tea or your own honey, which is like, if you want to spice it up, people put like sweeteners and all that. But like, dude, if you have this, you could have it plain without sweetener. But if you do honey, like that's like perfect. Like, perfect like mixture of like honey, the oat milk, and then the matcha. Just let it rock like that. Nice, obviously, but rather than doing the other stuff. So how long have we been going for, by the way?
57 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Time flies when you're having fun.
There you go.
And guess what? The DJI 360 is
DJI
no
or Insta
problem.
360? Is it DJI? Is that the brand?
No, you're right. It is. What am I saying? Jesus Christ!
You're talking about the drones.
Yes,
it's a drone.
I had a drone on the head. Yeah, sorry, Insta 360 rocking it.
Yeah.
And we were joking before we got on that if you pan down, you'll see sort of the graveyard of GoPro components and pieces and bits and stupid shit. And I will never, ever, ever buy a GoPro ever again. Period.
There you go. Now we gotta do this when we go out.
Someone was telling me that I haven't followed their stock, but apparently their stock is absolutely cratered, and they just signed a deal with I want to say it's like Formula One or MotoGP or something to try and re-bring the brand back. It's just so awful though, man. Terrible product.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good for stuff that we're not trying to do. Maybe like it's like you see GoPro shots. And maybe it was just like the first.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the Insta 360 is kicking their ass even on the
performance stuff
on the extreme sports stuff, just because 360 is cool.
You know who always did good sports stuff was Red Bull. I feel like Red Bull's always kind of dialed in their marketing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they always. I don't know what the transition between is. Just like maybe just like it gives you Red Bull gives you wings or whatever. But like they've always had
Well, they dump a shit ton of money.
Really
I mean, I can't even imagine what their
budget would be.
Their budget is for marketing. It's got to be insane,
man. Because they did the Bumgardner jump.
They do everything.
Yeah,
anything that's extreme related, they do. Period.
Yeah,
everything.
Man. That's crazy stuff. Because they do like stuff where you're like, how is that
legal? They sponsor a Formula One team, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, right?
Well, there's that part of it, but this one was like this guy like jumped out of a plane into another plane, so it's like you just like it's like how much money do you have to like I couldn't even imagine like the clearances you would need for some of this stuff.
I don't know, it's crazy.
They have a lot of money.
I'm sure they have a whole legal team that just does nothing but like have people sign waivers that they won't sue.
Yeah. Well, you said you remember when Red Bull first came out, right?
Yeah,
like that was like a big thing. Like when the launch of Red Bull first came out, because what other?
I mean, look, oh god, so yes, I do remember when Red Bull came out, and
why'd you say it like you had like you had something to say?
It also typically involved vodka and
Red Bull vodkas.
Yeah, it was a good time. What can I say? And you didn't go to sleep ever, so obviously, right?
With the Red Bull, there you go.
And I think back and I'm like, damn, how did I not die? It's like, it's bad.
Speaking of not dying, we're going to Atlantic City soon, right? Or is that still on or no?
No. God, when is that? Like the March 21st or 2nd or something? I'm going to be in Chicago until that Friday.
Oh, wow.
But we usually go Saturday, right? So I'm assuming Saturday. So. Yes, I'm still planning on going. Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it. We got to stop by another diner when we go down there.
Yeah.
Get some chicken. Well, last time we went, we got freaking chicken and waffles. There was like the monsterest of monster plates.
Jersey diners are the best.
It was so good. It was so good.
Actually, it wasn't even on the menu, and she just said, well, we can do it for you.
We can do it for you. Yeah, I mean,
we'll sell you the waffles, and we'll sell you the chicken. We'll just throw it together and throw some shit on it, and boom, done.
Yeah. That was awesome.
But yes, we got that coming up, which I think is long overdue for us because we need some motivation on that whole thing because the clothing has just been a complete fucking disaster this year.
We gotta redo it. It's crazy, man. Like
I know it's life.
Well, life. I think just like like you go through so many different like things, and I feel like a lot of it could be like we're talking about downstairs, but just a lot of it could be like work related. It's like if you're so tied up with work, you just like don't fucking have time to do anything.
No, I know.
You know
it's the same thing with this podcast, right? It's the reason why we don't do it every week.
Yeah, it's like if you're just tied up.
Fuck,
like before,
we all need COVID back.
I know. Remember when COVID was happening?
Man.
Free time left and right.
As much as it was a crock of shit, God, I wish we had. Sometimes I'm like, let's go back to COVID, man. I had time out my ass. God damn, it was
just
fabulous.
Looking for stuff to do.
Jesus. And I was still getting paid to do it. I'm like, fuck, let's go back.
Yeah.
But crazy. So I mean, I think that the timing on that's really good because we could use the motivation.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that'll kickstart the juices and you'll see some stuff.
We have that frickin' machine downstairs, the heat press machine. We didn't even get to kick on yet.
Yeah, I know.
So there's a bunch of stuff hopefully to come.
And then so that's coming up late March, so we'll do that. I don't know if you saw their B&H has a they have like a show up at the Javits Center.
Where's this? New York?
Yeah, for all the camera equipment and all the audio and all the other stuff, and it's free. It's free to go, and
I'm down.
That's like in June.
Is it on a weekend?
No, it's in the middle of the week.
You might be able to make something happen.
We should look into that too, because I mean, obviously, that would be cool for this, just to see.
We always talk about doing the product reviews, so maybe that could be motivation for that. That's like how you get the views, man. It's freaking product reviews. We talk about it every time. If you want to get views on YouTube, look up, just type in a product that you're like looking to buy, because I do it every time. So it's like if I'm buying something, God, that's how you do it.
I don't know how it happened, but like on Facebook, I stumble upon like shit, and I guess if you look at one video, the next thing you know, you just get videos from that guy for the next 30 days or whatever it is, and it's like these freaking kids that are in this like super maxed out mansion in California, driving around in all these exotic cars, and all they do is like pour fucking Mentos into a Coke bottle and then drop the Coke bottle into like an igloo cooler and have it explode. And
really,
it's like a 30-second video that's got like 800,000 or 800 million views, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong in life?
We got to figure it out, man.
It's just dumb shit. I mean, just do dumb shit. I mean, I get it. It's like these stupid little TikTok clips that are dumb shit, like flipping bottles and stuff like that. And people like
eat it up, man. They love it.
Oh my God. I got to figure it out. We got
to make matcha. That's what we'll do. We'll make matcha. But all right, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I got to go to meet someone.
Oh, sure. He's got to go.
Yeah,
he's got a life on a Saturday. He's got a life on the weekends.
Sorry. I hope everyone enjoyed, though. That was a good episode back. I feel like we did a solid hour.
And again, we're in 360 on YouTube. So if you don't know it, you can usually click on it and spin it, and you can see Dave on the one side,
Shout
me
out
on
to
the
Joe
other
for
side.
the iPad.
Hook Dave up with my old iPad.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. We're out. Peace.
Peace.